Hey there YouTube, welcome back to the Allegheny Northern in N scale. Today we are doing a product review. Today's product is the Jacksonville Terminal Company's well car. My review, comments, thoughts, and suggestions on purchase coming up right after this. So I broke down and bought what I consider a fairly expensive car. This is an over $30 purchase, and typically, I mean, for a well car, a standalone single car, I mean that's not, that's not the price I'm going to pay in N scale. So let's take a look at value added, let's say, as far as what this model has that maybe some other models don't. So first, as you guys know, I have recently been purchasing containers from Jacksonville Terminal, and I have been very impressed with the detail in the containers, and they do offer a magnetic system, and that magnetic system holds the containers together. So that's a nice little feature. It's not, it's a gimmick, but it works nice. So if you are of the old school and you had some of the, say, deluxe innovations containers and container cars, then you probably glued your containers together so they stayed put. But with the magnetic system, obviously you don't have to do that. You can attach it to cars, cranes, whatever you need to do to make it stay on the train. So they come packaged very, very nicely. And the first thing that I noticed when I opened up the car, took it out of the paper, was, holy crap, there's a lot of detail on it. So you get etched metal walkways. They appear to be prototypical in their layout. You can obviously see right through them. You do get, and they're very hard to see, but you do get the very tiny little handrails on the side, which are awesome, and the grab irons. All of the brake detail is there and perfect, and of course micro trains, couplers, and trucks, which speaks right to my heart. Everybody knows I am a micro trains fan above all others. So first cursory review there, very, very nice car, very nice detailed, and with micro trains on it, I know it's going to run smooth. Now the real beauty of this thing comes in when you take it on its side and look at all the labeling and the details, and all of it is legible. I know it's blurring out a little bit in the camera here. It's too tiny for the camera to see, but it's not too tiny for your eyes to see. The lettering is crisp, it's neat, it's clean. It's really, really nice. The car body itself has some pretty serious weight to it as far as cars go. It's largely made out of, it's all metal parts. But it's not too heavy. I mean, it's not like, oh my God, this thing weighs a ton like the Walthers kit is. Unfortunately, I don't have a scale to tell you how much it actually weighs, but it's got some heft to it, which is good for running empty. In comparison to this much older modeled unit, this is all plastic. There's no weight to it at all. In fact, without the containers, this particular model, which I wish I knew who this car was, but with this particular model, it doesn't ride well, just because without the weight of a container and a weighted container at that, there's nothing to this thing. It's paper thin. And although this car has some nice details and the grabs aren't totally out of scale or anything. You aren't getting etched metal in here. And you've noticed that way back when I had the layout with much tighter curves, I removed some of the interior webbing in order to allow these trucks to turn enough to get around some sharper curves. Now, I was very much afraid that with this unit, I was going to have to do something similar, because as you can see, it's a larger car, 48 versus 53, so yeah, it makes sense. It's going to be a little bit bigger. But I took this thing around the layout to make sure, because I've got some pretty tight turns on there, and I wasn't sure that it was going to stay on the tracks. Tracks beautifully. There's a couple of areas where you can tell it's rubbing just a tiny little bit, but it was not enough to derail it, even in a train. So that made me very, very happy. But you know, once again, I just go back to that level of detail, and I want to see if I can zoom in and at least show you some of that, what's going on here. Now, obviously, this is a brand new, out of the package unit. It's not weathered or anything yet, and I'll be honest with you, it is going to absolutely pain me to weather this. I may hold off. I may not weather it. I don't know. It might be this might be a new, out of the factory painting, you know, right on the road. It does have the reflective warning stripes. You're looking at one right there. That is mandated by the Federal Railroad Administration. But in general, this is a very well detailed car. So as far as quality and detail goes, this model gets an A+. Okay, so once we load it up here with some Jacksonville Terminal container car loads here, some containers. Look at the detail on the end here for the locks, the printing on the containers themselves. I mean, they're absolutely beautiful models. Now, you do pay a little bit more for it, but as you can see, the containers do stay together when I pick them up, and they separate very easily. But that magnet it's not strong enough to necessarily pick the container up. You know, if you were trying to, it's not gonna, you can't hover over it here and grab it. But once you get close enough, it just snaps right in there. You line up the containers the way they're supposed to. They do have little nubs here so that they do catch, and then well, there it goes. I mean, it's ready to go out on the road. Once you add these containers have some weight to them. I think it's basically because of the magnet. So it adds some weight to this car. So you know, you get a train of these things going up a hill, it's going to be a heavy load, but it looks fantastic. I feel like it's going to track very, very well on the layout. So far, I've only run it on empty. But let's take this thing over to the layout and let's take it for a spin. Okay, so we're just about to depart. Now, one thing I should point out, that this model not only features micro trains trucks, those couplers are also body mounts. So if you are running a terminal operation where you may be pushing and shoving cars, that's going to be news to your ears, because you are not going to have to change out your truck mounted couplers for body mounts. You've already got it. And we're going to pull our brand new car here behind an SD40-2 dressed in the Wheeling and Lake Erie paint scheme. And I'll be honest with you, the Wheeling and Lake Erie has not been around the layout in a while, so let's hope her operation is as smooth as we need for the video. One of the areas that I find always tests my models out is the S-curve. It's not necessarily the tightest. It's just kind of awkward for a lot of trains to navigate. And other than the locomotive stalling there, which means I probably got a dirty spot, as you can see, as she snakes around the layout, tracking very well around the curves. And we'll get you one more shot here as she crosses the bridge before she disappears into the tunnel. So as all good product reviews should go, we need to give this thing a grading scale. So we're going to look at some key factors of the model itself, and we're going to rate them based on a set of criteria. So first, of course, we need to talk about the quality of the product. So under quality of product, we're going to look at things such as the printing, the paint, the detail, that sort of thing. So that'll be our first step. So on this model, the quality is an A grade. This is a beautiful model, very nicely applied details with the etched metal. The printing is very clear, very crisp. Everything is labeled on there. It just looks fantastic. And I'm talking strictly about the cars at this point, but in this case, you can go ahead and lump Jacksonville Terminal's containers on there as well. They are beautiful. The next thing we want to talk about is operation, and this thing ran absolutely perfect. I attribute that, one, to the weight of the car with and without the containers, but also to the Microtrains trucks and body mount couplers on there. So for me, that's an absolute win right there, right off the bat. So A on operation. The last thing I want to talk about is the price point. So these cars are fairly expensive. You're going to pay somewhere around the neighborhood of $30, $35 per car. It's steep, I know. And when you look at the detail, when you look at the beauty, is it worth it? You're going to have to weigh that. I'm going to say yes. It's a little steep, so I'm giving it a B on the value added. And actually, it pains me to do that because I'll be honest with you, it is a beautiful model. So, in conclusion, if you are considering adding anything from Jacksonville Terminal, their well cars are worth it. They are a little pricey. It's going to shy away probably some of the younger modelers, some of the modelers on a budget. But in time, you are going to see a unit train of these babies on my layout. I can guarantee you that. I'm very happy with them. They traverse curves that I thought they weren't going to be able to. Not only the S curves that I showed you it go through, but also the S curve on the bridge section of the layout. They went over it just fine. So in all, this is a quality model. I'm very happy with it. I think although the price is a little steep and more than I wanted to pay per a single car, now that I've seen it, I've run it, it's definitely one to add to the collection.